Hello and welcome to the Oracular Shamanic Sorcery Minute. This is Calliope, the Oracle Shaman, and today's topic is, what is the reflective ether? I was woken up yesterday quite early in the morning. It was the wee hours of the morning. It was very, very dark out still and quite cold. And I squirreled away into my spirit room, and I was led to, light incense, do the whole ritual thing. And then I went into a meditative trance state. And I came back with messages from my guides, my ancestors, and from the house of Seraph on how to delineate the difference between the oracle and the reader, and the importance of delineating the difference between the oracle and the reader so that we have a clear-cut understanding of what it means to be the oracle, to be an oracle. So I was led now to do this talk, this quick little chat on the reflective ether, which is something that the reader has access to strictly and primarily as their function and their way of accessing the divine, connecting to the divine. Since time immemorial, we have had these references to reflection and images, and these have been used as a way to illustrate God's creative ideas, or the universe, or the creator, or whatever you call the Great Spirit. The creative ideas being objectified in space and time. One example would be a clear pool of water. This, in a tangible sense, would have been humankind's first mirror, humankind's first reflection or connection to the reflection. And so the water, being clear and glassy, would reflect the sky, which is the furthest above us, and it's the bottommost part of our atmosphere, our stratosphere, at the same time. And it can also reflect the part of the water. And it can also reflect your own image. It can reflect the image of any trees or birds or anything that's coming into the space of this clear body of water, this glassy pool. And this is a great example of how, over time, mankind has come to have a connection to the divine sight gift by being able to reflect upon our humanity, reflect upon our state as creative beings, and also as, humans who are here and who need and, require or appreciate the help of the divine, the introspection that the divine can lead us on in that journey, and just the overall assistance and gnosis that we receive and the downloads from the divine. So the reflective ether essentially has the name because of its reflections of the memory of nature. Whether the memory of nature is the great wild, the nature of man, the nature of woman, the nature of children, the nature of poverty, of abundance, of fertility, whatever. It is the reflection of the memory of nature. This is why it's called this name. This is why it deserves this name. This is, one reason why. The real memory of nature actually is found in a much higher realm, though. So in this reflecting ether, no thoroughly trained clairvoyant cares to read it. The pictures are blurred. They're vague compared to the pictures that we can find in the higher realms. So a clairvoyant, and this is a clairvoyant, clear seeing, just so we have a clear understanding here of what that means. Clairvoyant person is not going to want to use the reflective ether. The reflective ether is going to be problematic to the clairvoyant. The reflective ether is too shadowy. I don't particularly care for the reflective ether. And when things were shadowy, I was trying to do any readings or much seeing work. I was staying in a room with my notebook. I always had a dream book or a vision book. And I used to have these lighted pens. My mother got these for me because she knew I was a writer, a scribe. And so she got them for me so I didn't have to hide by the bathroom nightlight to write when I woke up and had a spark of inspiration. Calliope, epic poetry, right? So anyway, I would write my little dreams and write the symbols that I saw, the things that stuck out to me because I didn't understand them. And a lot of my dreams during that stage, as I go back and look at my dream books, and I do still have some of my journals from the old days, from my teenage years, I can see a lack of clarity. And I'm writing about this lack of clarity because I was operating in that reflective ether. I wasn't trusting my sight. I wasn't trusting my ability to divine and to just channel the answer, to channel the truth of what it is that I was seeking. I kept going back to that reflective ether looking for something to prove to me that, what I was feeling led to was right or correct or accurate. And as long as I was doing that, I was denying my own divinity and my own divine right as an oracle. And part of that is because I didn't want to call myself that because, I didn't even have a real access to that term at the time. It was more so prophet or prophetess or, whatever you would use those terms for. So for me, I wasn't one on titles, as I said in my other video, in similarity with this subject here on the oracle versus the reader. I wasn't too big on titles. I wasn't too keen on that stuff. So I didn't want to call myself that. And at the same time, I didn't want to really own my gift, own my power, own my ability. I was still afraid of it. So I was running from it like a scared child. And I was a child. I was scared. So that's not an unfair classification. But once the Bible says, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I acted as a child, so on and so forth. But when I became a woman, I put away those childish things. And once I put away those childish things, I started feeling challenged to step into the role and realizing the importance for me in calling myself oracle because I had to get myself out of that reflective ether realm. It wasn't helping me. It wasn't serving me. I wanted to be better in my gift. I wanted to really, really connect with my intuition and my discernment and really hone that spirit of discernment, that spirit of intuitive flair. I was tired of making the same mistakes. I was tired of seeing the symbol but not really understanding it and being able to interpret it. So I left the reflective ether alone. I left it alone completely. And I started talking about it. And all of the people who were still in the reflective ether were trying to put that on par with the higher realm. And that's ignorant. And I understand it's ignorance. And I also understand that ignorance is a curse. And so, unfortunately, because they're trying to superimpose the reflective ether, the shadow sight realm, into the higher realm of the divine sea of the house of Serath and the oracle, the oracular state, they'll never really get out of that reflective ether. And the unfortunate thing about that is when you book a session with one of these people, because they're stuck in that reflective ether, they absolutely must have some tool. If they don't have any tools, if you've got a reader who is giving you some divine wisdom or divine download or whatever he or she might call it, and they don't use tools, they're not good enough to not use tools. And I remember that stage. I remember not being good enough to not use tools. I had to go look up the color, pay attention to the symbols that way and go and get some gnosis outside of myself because I didn't have it. Or not I didn't have it. Yeah, I didn't have it because I didn't trust it. If you tell yourself something is not, it won't be because you said so. The very power of life and death lie in our tongue. So I got myself out of that reflective ether simply by realizing that one of these things is not like the other, and one of these things just doesn't belong. There are some people who will stay in the reflective ether, and they can work the reflective ether well because they have cards or a pendulum or, let's see, some people